lunacy. Um, People. Jesus wasn't historical, but yet he had a wife. Or we can't know anything about Jesus, but hey, here's evidence that he had a wife. Here's a papyrus was found. This was a while ago, saying just that Jesus said, "My wife." That's basically reportedly what it said on it. Reportedly, and they say it's from the 4th century. Well, from that mention right there, we can kind of dismiss this out of hand. And notice when they're this controversial stuff that they bring up, they use the earlier date, so it's probably more like 4th to 6th century, which is way too late. But even if something like that were in not only early text, but a canonical text, or at least the texts that were accepted for a while and then discarded, you kind of have to know the context. It's as if people know nothing about Christianity. Who are my mother? You are my mothers and brothers and sisters. Oh, so when he said that to his disciples, that means his disciples were just his immediate family, were blood relation. No, pretty much everybody knows what that means. Or when he says, "Who are my mother and brothers, sisters?" He was an orphan then and didn't know any of his family, right? Taken out of context, he says, "Who are my brothers and sisters? Those who, love God and have faith and know me, and that is my mother or my brother or my sister." He's not denouncing the Theotokos and the family of Joseph at all. He's not. We see them as great people of faith in the Gospels. So this affirms that they're the closest by their faith, not by their proximity in a family line to him. Because he was born in the world from Mary. He does have relations and genetics and stuff like that to people. Now, the transcendent Christ, the resurrected Christ, this is that. We can't speak to that. But a scrap of paper from the 4th century, and Jesus said, "My wife." Well, who is the bride of Christ? The church. It's probably like "my bride" or something like that. And by the 4th century, you're going to get Orthodox things saying that. And Jesus announced, "My bride is now the one saved," and so the fact that we have liturgical stuff where Christ is talking about his bride, and it clearly means the church, and it's always meant the church, would you not find that in Constantinian Christianity, of Byzantine Christianity from Constantine Theodosius at least? Yes, and you find that much longer before you find that within, I mean, the Apocalypse of John. We see the bride and the bridegroom, and even before that. So the foolishness of, "Oh, Jesus had a bride," we're it. I'm identifying with the female. The collection of us is identifying as the female. Again, this doesn't push, "Oh, there's a male and a female God," or it's androgynous, or no, it's God is dominant, right? Helpful, the spirit is helpful and caring, so that sometimes gets referred to as she, because pneuma is a feminine word, but they have the power and are consenting power. It's not something, again, you have to know how gender worked in the ancient world, and I think many of you have a good grasp of that. 4th century scrap of paper talking about Jesus talking about his bride. Well, it's 4th century, so it's too late. And we don't know what context it's in. Besides all that, we know the context it's in. Any Eastern Orthodox can tell, could answer this video and would do it in the same way, I'm pretty sure. They probably might not even say oh, the 4th century bit, and, it's being too late. And I could just say, yeah, absolutely. We know who the bride of Christ is. Wife, I think it's bride. And even if it is wife, it's still the same. Liturgical language shifts like that from culture to culture. Not to mention, I didn't see what language this was in, and probably Greek. I mean, if it's in Latin or something like that, you've already moved far enough away where there's no possible relation to it, because we'd have to see a manuscript line of, I mean, somebody would have mentioned those heretics over there saying that Jesus had a wife. We know in detail what the I mean, Irenaeus of Lyon writing about against heresies, or Tertullian, or Justin Martyr, or Origen. We see the refutation of what the heresies existed, and even the anti-Montanist works. We know what Hippolytus wrote. Sometimes these guys, you know, one will just mention Marcion kind of offhand, one will devote a paragraph to him, one will have books and books about him. I mean, just, you know, Irenaeus, Tertullian, or, you know, those guys. Hippolytus, I believe, mentioned Marcion too, but even just looking at something like Marcionism or Sabellianism or Gnosticism and different trees of Gnosticism, a scrap of paper with a few letters on it that's going to upturn Christianity. See, that's more evidence than full copies of Gospels that date from 3rd century, 100 years before, full, or scraps of John that are clearly John without any change from like 115 to 135. The Gospel of John I'm talking about. And the fact that Paul is pretty much unanimous and undisputed. Maybe the Judaizers don't like him, but of course they don't. He pissed him off with Galatians right off the bat. So there's only so much foolishness I can tolerate before I have to say that's not even a real argument. And that's why I said anybody, oh, see, Jesus really had a wife, because these few letters written on here. Not to mention, does it really say that? Does it actually say that? I mean, how many... I bet this came around about Easter time. Around Easter, around Western Easter, it blows up. All this crazy. Jesus, remember the ossuary of James? Jesus' tomb. We found Jesus' dead body. We found the body of the Christ. No, they didn't. Even the rabid atheist, you know, who would dig to trash Christ. But even the Israelis say, no, it's not. It's just playing roulette with names. It's just not even, there's no seriousness behind it. But it's done by James Cameron. As if the works of the wonder workers mean nothing, or the prayers of the saints, or Theotokos. That what if they did prove Jesus or Christ didn't rise from the dead, and then a year later they say, oh, well, that's actually a hoax? What ass would lose their faith over that? I mean, wouldn't you say, well, let's just wait a while. Let's wait if this is something like Piltdown Man or something like that. And I'm not slamming evolution there. I'm just talking about the hoax. I'm no creationist. I just mean it in the sense of a hoax and how it just got bought into. Although there were always people kind of like, well, I don't want to pat myself on the back by saying people like me, but always people saying, yeah, we don't buy that. The doubt is good. It's a good fight it's something to rush the heretics with. Take it easy. Peace to you. May God save Serbia, Syria, and Ireland, and the Copts.